The 2025 Conde de Godó ended in an unexpected twist. Carlos Alcaraz, the heavy favorite, saw his 14-match winning streak on Barcelona clay come to an end, losing in the final to an unstoppable Holger Rune. It was a match filled with intensity, emotion, and an unexpected concern, physical discomfort that forced Alcaraz to receive medical attention mid-match. In this video, we look back at how the final unfolded, what Carlos said after the defeat, and what we can expect from him ahead of the Madrid Masters 1000. Carlos Alcaraz reached the final of the Godó with everything in his favor, undefeated in the tournament since 2022, with 2 titles under his belt, a recent champion in Monte Carlo, and without dropping a single set all week. But standing across the net was a familiar foe, Holger Rune. The Dane played intelligently, holding on through the first set until the tiebreak, which he won 7-6, 6 and then capitalizing on Alcaraz's physical dip in the second to close it out 6-2. The Spaniard had to be treated for discomfort in his abductor, and although he didn't want to make excuses, he did admit that it affected his mindset. Alarms went off, and it was hard to stay focused, he confessed. With this loss, Carlitos loses the number 2 spot in the ATP rankings, which will now be taken by Alexander Zverev. Beyond the result, what's causing concern is Alcaraz's physical condition. Although he plans to undergo tests, the player himself said he hopes to be fit to compete at the Madrid Masters 1000. "I'll rest for a couple of days and talk with my medical team. I hope it won't affect me," he said cautiously. Alcaraz also took the opportunity to pay tribute to Rafael Nadal. "I bow to Rafa. When you go through this yourself, you appreciate even more what he did week after week. Winning like that is almost impossible." Rune, for his part, celebrated what is now his 5th professional title, acknowledging that he had long awaited a win like this. "It's incredible. Thank you, Barcelona. I know I'm not Spanish, but you've really understood tennis," he said to a round of applause. Both players showed mutual respect and deep knowledge of each other's game. Alcaraz admitted that Rune didn't have ups and downs and played with a kind of order that isn't very common for him. He was also self-critical. "I rushed things, lacked patience, and he took advantage of that." The Godó final was a lesson in tennis, strategy, and maturity. Rune was a deserved champion, and Alcaraz, though defeated, gained valuable experience and growth. Now, all eyes turn to Madrid. Will Carlos recover in time and come back strong on home soil? And is Rune becoming one of the big names of this clay season? After losing the final of the Barcelona Open Bank Sabadell to Holger Rune, Carlos Alcaraz not only showed maturity in defeat but delivered one of the weekend's most talked about quotes, "I bow to Rafa Nadal." In this video, we'll revisit Carlitos' reflections after a demanding clay swing, his sincere admiration for Nadal's legacy, his analysis of the match against Rune, and his physical condition heading into the Madrid Masters 1000. Carlos Alcaraz gave it his all, but it wasn't enough. The straight sets loss to Holger Rune ended a brilliant run, but also highlighted the enormous physical toll of this intense clay court season. Coming off a win in Monte Carlo, and just days later fighting for his 3rd Godó title, the wear was evident. At the post-match press conference, Alcaraz made no excuses but shared a powerful insight. "Now I bow to Rafa for what he did week after week." After experiencing firsthand the challenge of competing at the highest level with little rest, the Mercian appreciated more than ever what his idol achieved for years, dominating clay tournament after tournament. "Winning everything in a row is almost impossible. When you live it yourself, you value what Rafa did much more," he admitted. Regarding the final, Alcaraz didn't hesitate to praise his opponent. "Holger played an exceptional match. Very disciplined, very clear about what he wanted to do." While acknowledging Rune's ability to stay consistent from start to finish, he was also critical of himself. "I missed opportunities that hurt me in the end." The world number 2 had his chances, but converted only 1 of 5 break points, and was hampered by physical issues that required medical treatment during the second set. Despite the loss, Alcaraz held his head high. "I played a final at the Godó and I leave with pride. I gave everything I had." His overall balance remains positive, though now the focus is on his physical recovery. Looking ahead to the Madrid Masters, the Mercian was clear. "We'll rest for 2 days, talk with my team, and run some tests. I'm confident it won't hurt my chances in Madrid." Beyond the result, Carlos Alcaraz's run at the Godó 2025 offers plenty to value. His consistency, his evolution as a competitor, and his humility in recognizing the toughness of the road he's traveling. His message to Nadal was not just one of admiration, but a tribute to a legend whose legacy continues to echo in every step of this new generation. What does it take to beat Carlos Alcaraz on his favorite surface and at one of his favorite tournaments? Holger Rune found out, and executed it with surgical precision. In this video, we explain how the young Dane conquered the 2025 Conde de Godot and, more importantly, how he designed a strategy inspired by Novak Djokovic to outplay the Mercian in a final that delivered much more than just a new champion. Rune showed not only talent and composure but also surprising tactical maturity that solidifies him as one of the most serious threats on tour today. Holger Rune's victory over Carlos Alcaraz in the Godot final was no stroke of luck. According to the Dane himself, it was the result of deep study of Alcaraz's game and near-perfect execution of a match plan. His inspiration? None other than Novak Djokovic. "I thought about how Djokovic would play this match and copied his approach from the Olympic final," Rune said in his post-match press conference, referring to the Paris 2024 Olympic final where the Serbian outplayed Alcaraz in a masterclass of tactics. Rune explained that playing defensively against Alcaraz wasn't an option. "Carlos can dominate with all his shots, so I had to prevent him from feeling comfortable from the start," he said. The goal was clear: neutralize Carlitos' rhythm and force him into uncomfortable territory, where he'd have to take more risks than usual. During the opening games, Rune focused on finding that middle tempo with his shots. Not too aggressive, not too passive. A pace that didn't lead to his own errors but forced Alcaraz to raise his level to win points. And that's when, according to Rune, everything started to click. "I told myself I had to find a ball rhythm where I barely made mistakes and made him take big risks to win points. Midway through the first set, I found it, and that was key," said the Dane, who managed every critical moment with intelligence. One of those moments was when Alcaraz called for the trainer due to abductor discomfort. Rune didn't lose focus. "I knew that if I cooled off, I could lose control of the match. I kept moving, stayed focused, and knew the pressure would shift onto me at that point." Far from being shaken, the Dane took advantage of the situation, breaking Alcaraz early in the second set and never looking back. What Rune achieved on the Rafa Nadal court was much more than a title, it was a statement of intent. At just 21 years old, he showed that he has the talent, mindset, and above all, intelligence to compete with the best in the world. His win over Carlos Alcaraz was a masterclass in planning, execution, and emotional control. And with confidence at its peak, he didn't hesitate to say he now sets his sights on the Madrid Masters 1000. "This week gave me extra motivation. If I keep playing at this level, I'll be a contender in Madrid too." What did you think of Rune's Djokovic-inspired game plan? Do you believe this title in Barcelona could be the start of something big in his career? And how do you see Alcaraz heading into Madrid after this tough final? Leave your thoughts in the comments, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing from the world's best tennis. See you soon with more analysis, interviews, and full coverage of the tour. See you next time. Got your draw in hand? Because the 2025 Mutua Madrid Open promises to be a true roller coaster for the world's top tennis players. The draw is set, seeds are defined, and the potential paths to the title already look dizzying. Can Carlos Alcaraz repeat his past heroics? Will Novak Djokovic reign again in the Caja Mágica? And what about Alexander Zverev, now the tournament's top seed? In this video, we break down the seeded order for the Madrid tournament, the most explosive potential matchups, and the major threats lurking for each favorite, starting as early as the third round. The 2025 Mutua Madrid Open brings together the ATP's biggest stars in an expanded format, 128 slots and 96 players fighting to lift the trophy. The top 32 seeds get a first-round bye, but that doesn't mean the path is easier. Quite the opposite, the third-round matchups already look dramatic. Carlos Alcaraz, seeded number 2, can't face Alexander Zverev, the number 1, until a potential final. Meanwhile, Novak Djokovic looms as a semi-final threat for one of them. But here's the juicy part: from the third round onward, possible clashes include dangerous names like Matteo Berrettini, Denis Shapovalov, or Spanish sniper Alejandro Davidovich, all serious threats on clay. The third round could pit top 8 seeds against players ranked 25 to 32, a tier that includes competitors who've gone deep in Grand Slams before. The surprises could start early. In the round of 16, the path gets even trickier. Alcaraz could face and inform Arthur Fils, while Zverev might meet Casper Ruud, a true clay court specialist. And Djokovic? He could run into a resurgent Dimitrov or Musetti, who has troubled him in the past. The potential combinations show that no one will have a free ride to the later rounds. Quarterfinals? That's when things really heat up. If seeds hold, we could see duels like Alcaraz versus de Minaur, Zverev versus Draper, or Djokovic versus Rublev. But nothing is guaranteed. Players like Medvedev, Musetti, or Ben Shelton are surging and could break the ranking logic. And what about Holger Rune? The Dane just claimed the title in Barcelona and arrives in top form. Seeded number 8, he's a real threat to anyone in his section of the draw. No one will want to face him, especially after his performance against Alcaraz. The 2025 Mutua Madrid Open has all the ingredients to be unforgettable. From early rounds to a possible high-voltage final, the matchups are mouthwatering. Carlos Alcaraz will be chasing his third major title of the year, Novak Djokovic wants to prove he still rules, and Alexander Zverev seeks to justify his top seeding. But in this tournament, no one is safe. Madrid's clay has a history of upsets, and names like Fils, Berrettini, or Shapovalov could blow the draw wide open at any moment. And you? What do you think will be the most electrifying match of the 2025 Mutua Madrid Open? Will this be the edition where a new generation breaks through, or will the veterans impose their experience? Leave your prediction in the comments, subscribe if you haven't yet, and turn on notifications to stay up to date with everything happening in Madrid. We'll see you soon with more news, analysis, and excitement from the heart of the tennis world. See you next time.